Hello, true duelists. My name is Craig Fee, and as always, welcome to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Update. It's a big, fat, long video this week, so apologies in advance for whatever the timestamps are, because my throat hurts already from all this reading. That can't be taken out of context. This weekend marks the North American Championship 2022 from today, July 15th through to the 17th. The main event is, of course, invite only, but there are plenty of side events if you are in the Chicago area and feel like seeing some duels. Still, the big show for the top players in North America is exciting stuff, and this tournament should have some level of impact on the upcoming ban list, whenever that may be. The key word in that sentence was should. We got some big, exciting stuff in terms of news this week. The stuff you tune into this update to hear. I'm, of course, talking about the legendary Duelist Season 3 dice. Yes, that's right. Season 3 box, set to release on the 21st of this month, has had its dice revealed. The collectible dice include such Yu-Gi Gen 1er favorites as Dark Magician, Dark Magician Girl, and the Dark Magic Circle. Are you a fan of Dark Magician yet? Well, if not, don't worry. There's also Elemental Hero Neos, the Hero H symbol, and Junk Synchron. All in all, cool. And also, more importantly, the box is another chance at a reprint of Magician Souls, so that ain't a bad thing. We've also had our first look at one of the 3 archetypes from the upcoming Amazing Defender set in the OCG, with the Rescue Ace having 12 of the usual 13 cards archetypes received from these sets, all fire attributes, mainly machines with some warriors mixed in, and each of them has the same attack stat as their own defense stat. Ooh. And most importantly, jokes about players of this deck being racists, which is just phenomenal news. Can't wait to bring racist jokes into Yu-Gi-Oh! Don't know how I feel about that sentence. Starting with Impulse, the level 3, with 1500 on the stat lines. During the main phase, you can choose the monster the opponent controls with the highest attack, or your choice if there's a tie, and neither player can activate that monster's effects on field this turn. And when the opponent activates a monster effect, you can quick effect tribute this card from your hand or field to special summon a machine race monster from your deck. Negate bait, and if they respond, you just use it as a lone fire. Also, emphasis on the firefighter, seeing as how this man's is carrying an axe that is most certainly multi-purpose on the field of Yu-Gi-Oh! Hoister doesn't have an axe, but he can fly. They fly now! A level 4 with 1700 in the stat line, it's another warrior that, if normal or special summoned, can add a race spell from deck to hand, and can quick effect tribute itself from hand or field to summon a race monster from your hand, except for a copy itself. Stratos ain't bad, and neither is Firefighter Stratos dude here. Hydrant is a literal hydrant on the field, that while you control a race monster that isn't another copy of Hydrant, cannot be targeted by card effect or attacks from the opponent. And also, once per turn, you can activate a quick play or trap race card that was set this turn by a race card effect. Race cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! God, I love these sentences. Fire Attacker is what I would call myself if I were a firefighter, but is also a level 6 machine with 2200 attack and defense, that if a race monster other than Fire Attacker is normal or special summoned, can special itself from the hand, and its other effect is that if the opponent adds a card from deck to hand, you can draw 2 cards to discard 1. Neat, cycling. Except this thing's flying, you don't have cycling involved. Fire Engine, who for legal reasons is not a transformer, but quite visibly and clearly is a transformer, is the level 7. With 2500 on the stat lines, it has the same summoning condition as Attacker. If another race is normal or special, it specials itself from hand. Its on-field effect is to special summon a level 4 or lower race monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard if a monster is summoned to the opponent's field. Turbulence can be summoned from hand by banishing 2 race cards from your graveyard, a 3000 beater, and wall. During your main phase, it can set up to 4 race quick play spells or traps with different names from the deck, because what the fuck is coster balance? But don't worry, because if another card you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, it can target a card on the field and destroy it. Sure, just +4 with no downsides. Why not? What is it? When I read that it's set 4, I assumed that I was going to be following it up with things like they're banished when they leave the field, or they're destroyed during the opponent's end phase if you haven't used them by then. But nah, just +4. Fuck it. I guess we're about to find out how good those pluses really are, because chances are this is more than just mild turbulence. Race Headquarters is their field spell. It gives race monsters 500 attack and defense while the opponent controls a monster, and during the main phase can give an additional normal summon of a race monster once per turn. Its other effect is to target 4 race cards from either your grave or banished pile and then shuffle them into the deck to draw a card. It's a solid way to recycle effects, I suppose, and 2 normal summons is better than 1, so neat. Their quick play spells and traps are all treated as race cards at all times, and they spell out the word race with their names and in the highlighted letter on the art. It's really, really nifty. It's almost like they planned it. First is Rescue, a quick play spell that targets and summons a race monster from your grave, or if you control Hydrant specifically, lets you summon any monster from the opponent's grave instead. All wrapped up with a hard once per turn. Not bad. Alert is another quick play spell that adds a race monster from the grave to your hand, and if you control a Hydrant, it'll add a race monster from the deck to hand instead. It's another hard once per turn, and thankfully not the disruption I was most scared of when I first read Turbulence. Contain is the first trap that, if you control a race monster, can target an effect monster the opponent controls and make it unable to attack or activate its effects. And if you've got Hydrant on your field, it cannot be used as the material for a Fusion, Synchro, XYZ, or Link summon. Now there's the disruption I was worried about. Imperm on crack. Decent. Their last card is Extinguish. Another trap that, if you control a race monster, targets and destroys an effect monster the opponent controls, and if you've got Hydrant, the opponent can't activate effects of the destroyed monster or monsters with the same name for the rest of the turn. Get it? It extinguishes the monster. And if you've got the water from the Hydrant, you got more water. It's thematic, it's neat, it's cool, it's nifty. All in all, seems like a pretty solid archetype, and hopefully it doesn't end up being the good archetype of the set, because I'm still really hopeful that the Dragon Dog thing will be playable too, in that perfect middle ground of being a deck that's good but also affordable, or as it's more commonly known in the wider community, the Impossible Dream. Still, I love that it's a bunch of firefighter dudes and they all need a Hydrant to really, like, I get it, it's cool. The Darkworld structure deck also had 3 more reveals this week. Great news for Darkworld players and awful news for my hand in future duels. Genta, Gateman of the Darkworld, is a level 4 that you can discard to add a Gates of the Darkworld from deck to hand. And if it's banished while you control a Darkworld card, can special summon itself. It is everything you need for the Darkworld field spell. It's great. Great card. Pearl, Hermit of Darkworld, is a level 1 that, if discarded to the grave by card effect, can target a Darkworld in your grave except for a copy of itself, and then summon to either player's field. And if it was discarded by an opponent's card effect, it'll let you summon a Fiend monster from your banished pile, grave, or hand to either field as well. Hot damn, a potential +2. Not bad. Also, Pearl? Are we getting a Darkworld Diamond soon? No, probably not. The last card revealed is Darkworld Library, a continuous spell that during the main phase lets you discard a Darkworld monster, and if you do, all Darkworlds you control will gain attack equal to the discarded monster's level times 100 for the turn, but more importantly, if you discard a monster whose original type is Fiend by the effect of a Darkworld card or from the opponent's effect, you can then discard a card to draw 2. Both effects are once per turn, and hey look, more ways for this deck to draw cards. In 2013, I remember my friend getting down to like 13 in the deck at the end of the first turn, so probably not bad. All in all, seems Darkworld is coming back, and as such, so is my hatred for decks that fuck with my hand. I play card games to play cards. Stop looking at my hand and getting rid of them. I hate Drag Down into the Grave with a passion. In less my personal 2012 PTSD news, Darkwing Blast has had the last of its new cards revealed with only one singular card missing as of my filming this video. But I'm an impatient man and there is a deadline, so we'll cover it next week, I guess. Big news though, we got a card each for each of the Tactical Masters archetypes. Oh, remember those? Remember those? Remember those dudes, those decks, those guys, those cards? Valiant's got a normal spell that'll places a Valiant's Pendulum Monster from your deck into your Pendulum zone, and if a card is in a field zone, it can be banished from grave to target a Valiant's Monster in your main monster zone and move it to an adjacent main monster zone. Each effect is once per turn, and while I don't remember all the effects on that small novel of an archetype, I'm pretty sure this can both set up and enable 2 cards more or less by itself, so surely it's good. I don't know. I'm not reading all of that again. I'm not. I refuse. Mr. Rune has had its TCG name confirmed as Runic, and they got a new fusion monster, which means Frecky the Runic Fangs is the name. That was a poor start to the sentence. This little fusion buddy can banish the top 2 cards of the opponent's deck when an attack is declared involving it in the extra monster zone, and neither player will take damage from battles involving it. Also, if it's destroyed on the field by battle or card effect, it can target a Runic quick play spell in your grave and add it to your hand. Is this good for Runic? Absolutely, it's a good boy because it's a dog. That's why it's good, no bias. Lady of the Labyrinth is support for ice barriers, and that sentence right there is why you should not believe everything you hear online. This piece of Labyrinth support, if that isn't blatantly obvious, is untargetable and indestructible by the opponent's effects while you have a set card on your field, and can quick effect special summon itself from hand as long as you activated a Labyrinth card effect or normal trap card this turn. It can also set any normal trap from grave when another normal trap is activated, as long as the 2 traps have different names. This sounds like just a great piece of support, and since it is an anime girl, it will make for very easy thumbnail bait, since Yu-Gi-Oh! Players love their anime girls. That's just facts. Other than that, I don't know, it seems good. I don't want to think about Labyrinth. It's probably going to be annoying as shit. Up next is Meteoro. Mario Logic? Aggregator? That might be a typo. A rank 9 Xyz regardless, that needs 2 or more level 9s to summon. If Xyz summoned, it can send a monster from your extra deck to the grave, and its other effect can target monsters in the grave up to the number of materials it has attached to it. It'll detach its materials and then reattach the targets from the grave to itself. It just trades materials because it can. It also targets a face-up monster on the field and negates its effect for the turn if it is sent to the graveyard. So I have no idea what this card is doing whatsoever. I think more than anything, it's either going to be some weird janky Herald of the Arclight looper in like a Prediction Princess deck or some FTK, but more often than not, it's probably going to be a way to negate effects when you send it off of like Nadir's Servant or whatever. I don't know, it seems like it's more Dogmatica support than anything. That's my takeaway. Moving on, it seems that the Underworld is getting support. Not just in terms of the rise of sin by man each and every day of our lives as we stray further and further from God's light, but also with news reported from the Underworld. The next in line of tour buses and beat cops. A Link 2 needing any 2 effect monsters that can't be used as Link material the turn it's Link summoned. It lets you tribute a Fiend monster in place of a monster being destroyed by battle or card effect, and can revive any Fiend monster from your grave except for a copy of itself, but will require you to discard a card and will lock you into summoning only Fiends for the rest of the turn. This is great Unchained support, I think. I don't know, I don't play it. But it is also another anime girl, so like, now my thumbnail is going to be, I don't know what I'm going to put there. Who knows? You will, because you already clicked on the video. The most important question here is, of course, what type of camera is that and why does it film through the Eye of Sauron? Kyudo Spirit Hanshi is a level 5 scale 9 Spirit Pendulum monster, whose pendulum effect is to return itself to hand when a monster is pendulum summoned. Cool, clears the scale, I guess. Its monster effect triggers off of normal summon, of course, and allows you to return a card from your pendulum zone and every other card in that same column to the owner's hands, and then can add a monster with 2400 attack and 1000 defense, other than a copy of itself from your deck to your hand. And of course, as a spirit, at the end of the turn, it bounces itself back to hand. Why is this Monarch support? Why is it a spirit monster? Why play this when Return of the Monarchs already exists? I don't know, but I do know if I had a nickel for every piece of Monarch support that was a pendulum card, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it is weird that it happened twice. Samsara Calico Cat is an authentic little dude, a certified small fella, a bona fide creature, if I do say so myself. A level 3 zombie synchro tuner that needs generic materials, so we're off to a pretty promising start here. It can quick effect synchro summon on the opponent's turn, and if it's in the grave, it can return another synchro monster from grave to the extra deck to summon itself, but it'll be banished when it leaves the field. This just seems like an all-around good card with no real downsides, which is fitting because I like the art. Clownbird Ruffin Puffin, better be named exactly that when we get into the TCG or I will riot, can special summon itself from hand if there is a face-up spell or trap on the field, and contribute a winged beast you control to return a face-up spell or trap to hand. Neither player will be able to activate the effect of the returned card or cards with the same name once that effect resolves, and if you only control winged beasts, it's also a quick effect. Ultimately, when it comes to this card, it will be putting 2 clowns onto the field. First, itself by its name, and second, you for playing it. Instant 3 of an all decks, best card in the set. Death Tune GT19 is a machine flip effect tuner, and if flipped, can choose any level from 1 to 9 and then become that level, and its other effect is during the main phase, if it was flipped face up, will target another monster on the field and immediately synchro summon using those 2 monsters. You can only use 1 effect of the card per turn, but its effect to synchro summon is a quick effect. However, since it's also a flip effect, this really is just edgelord FA support and artwork only, and other than that, wah, wah. Flip monsters, man, I don't get it. Psycho Rover is probably the name for an awful sequel to Stephen King's Christine, but it's also this particular anime boy right here. If special summoned, you can roll a die, and if you roll a 1 or a 6, you can pop 2 cards on the field. And if it's sent from the grave, roll another die. If it rolls 2 through 5, it summons itself. But as long as you control the card summoned by that effect, you scythe lock yourself. You just can't summon from the extra deck. So, just a terrible card. This is an E-Tele target, but it's also a terrible, terrible, terrible card. So go ahead and call me Owen Wilson because, wow. Hidden City Calamity makes me think of Subterror from the art and now the name, and is a continuous spell that supports flip effects, so I guess it is. As long as it's on your field, your flip summoned monsters gain 1500 attack and defense. And if it's destroyed by the opponent, it can summon any monster from your grave in face down defense. I can't believe the flip support is underwhelming. You would hope it could at least be whelming, but no, underwhelming. I am beneath the state of being whelmed by this card. Demon's Contract, ooh, scary name. A normal trap that you can only use once per turn. Literally, because only 1 card of its name can be used per turn. So what does it do? It locks both players from summoning monsters with the same card type, either Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link, to what they already control. Also, if you don't control 2 or more cards of the same card type, then all monsters of those card types you control will gain 500 attack. It's like a really shitty dimensional barrier, but it doesn't negate the effects, so it's more fair. And I guess it's a decent replacement if D-Barrier ever gets hit. And also, not that it matters to anyone, but I love that this doesn't say Pendulum, but does say Ritual, because there's been like 3 good Ritual decks in the last 10 years that have been even remotely viable compared to the plethora of decks that have used every other card type, including Pendulum, which is omitted from this one. So, I don't know, this is Konami's official statement of fuck Ritual, so cool. Hoshai no Tenga, which I said wrong for sure, is another normal trap that lets you reveal a ritual monster in your hand to add a ritual monster from deck to hand with the same level but a different name than what was revealed. So I guess that's really just Cyber Angel support? I don't know, my ritual decks. It can also be banished from your grave and then discard a ritual spell from your hand to have the effect of the banishing be the effect of the discarded spell. It just lets you ritual summon as if you used the spell. I guess that's a means to play around, say, Anti-Spell or IO on Master Duel. Alternatively, you can also not play this. I should mention that you can only use 1 of its effects per turn, not both. And it also lets you ritual summon on the opponent's turn, which is cute. I think this is as close as we're getting to the NEKROZ trap card, that Fable. Sorry, Colossalus. Eat shit and live, as they say. Wallow the Slave Dragon of the Death Pioneer is a hell of a name, and a rank 6 zombie needing 2 or more level 6 monsters. It starts at a base of 2400 attack, but will gain 100 for each card in the opponent's grave, and it has a quick effect to target a card in the opponent's grave, and then detach some number of materials to use one of 2 effects. If you detach only 1 material, the target is shuffled into the deck, but if you detach 2, you can take that targeted card, and if it's a monster, summon it to your field in either face-up attack or defense, or even face-down defense, or if it's not a monster card, you can just set it to your field. Which is solid, pretty damn decent. No complaints or jokes here, because good God, this is a lot of cards, and I'm feeling my voice going away. Omerta Kalupo is not how you say that either. I'm really doing bad here. A level 4 Beast Warrior that when summoned equips the top card of your deck to itself face down as an equip that will give it 500 attack. Strange. And during the end phase, the opponent guesses the card type, either monster, spell, or trap, and if they guess it right, the monster, this weird looking furry dude, goes to the grave, or if they guess it wrong, they have to discard a random card from their hand. So it's just annoying. That's the whole shtick. It's so bad, but I do love it. Also, this is how people feel when they like it. Why is it Morbius in the reflection? I know it's like a werewolf, but like, it's Morbin. Okay, that card's more. Permeated Bamboo Sword is a new bamboo equip spell that will give the equipped monster 0 attack, and if it is able to attack directly and deal damage, it will destroy all monsters the opponent controls. I don't know how you go about setting that up, but it's funny. More importantly, it can send itself from field to grave to equip a Bamboo Sword equip spell from your deck to any face-up monster, except for another copy of Permeated Bamboo Sword. So it gets the OG out of the deck, which is cool, or the cursed one. I don't know what Bamboo Sword decks are doing these days. I remember they skipped Name Phase 2 at some point, so that's probably annoying. And the last card for today, praise Xeno, we're almost done, is Spiritual Dark Rider, Swift Returning Horse of the Long Name Legacy. You can decide how much of that I added onto the name there, but it's a level 8 plant. It's made of cucumbers. If it's on the field and it's not the battle phase, it immediately destroys itself, so it's off to just the strongest start possible any card could have. If it's in the grave at the start of the battle phase though, it can send a plant from your hand or face-up field to the grave to summon itself and any monster from either player's grave to your field, but both are sent to the grave at the end of the battle phase. That is just hilarious to me. And I think I want to try it in a really bad version of Sylvan's. I don't know what the ceiling is on this card in terms of like quick effect synchro or links or something, but I want to try. I want the cucumber horse. And moving on from cards, in Master Duel news, the new update has brought the new meta. Adventurer tokens have arrived in the newest pack alongside Fluwander Rees, just about giving Master Duel the entirety of our current metagame. There's also the rest of the Evil Twin support as a solid lower tiered option, if you don't mind losing the Fluwander. And there's also the new Dragon Maid structure deck that comes with some solid staples and every Dragon Maid that isn't Chamber for whatever reason, along with way too much in the way of Dragon Maid support. You've got a new icon, a new deck box, new sleeves, and a new mate in the form of Laundry Dragon Maid, which based on the way some of the Dragon Maid fandom acts makes me very uncomfortable referring to it as a mate. There's also some new hero stuff as well, a Skyscraper duel field, and new gates for solo mode, going over duels from the GX anime. If you complete that gate, you'll also get a Stratos mate, which based on the way some of the hero community acts, makes me very uncomfortable referring to it as a mate. In community news, popular YouTuber and streamer Triff Gaming is starting his No Sleep Subathon on Twitch today, with plans for today through to Sunday. If it makes it to the Sunday goal, it includes getting Pendulum tattoos. So you can bet I'll be tuning in for that part at the minimum. Still, best of luck to Triff. Hope your subathon goes well. Also this week, you may see Konami representative Douglas Zeef having what our leading scientists refer to as a Zeefgasm, as this new giant Sphere plush has been released in Japan and will most surely end up in his household. Or it won't. I don't fucking know anything. I just now have to live with having said the term Zeefgasm. I am no longer sure if God will let me into heaven after that one. And so that wraps it up for this week's update. As always, I'm your host, Craig Fee, and make sure you subscribe to YGO Strats for next week's update, and so you too can become a true duelist.